And before we begin this segment, some news that is more or less breaking, so to speak. Received a report, and it has been confirmed as accurate by Chief Gibbons, Aaron Gibbons at the City of Martinsburg Police Department, that Martinsburg PD arrested a 25-year-old janitor, custodian, who was in the closet beside the, this is all alleged at this point, Hedgesville girls' locker room at Martinsburg High School, allegedly filming the JV girls. He's being charged with, I've now been updated and told, 15 felony counts and executing a search warrant on the residence. This obviously involves the City of Martinsburg Police. It involves the school system too. I texted the school system. They'll put out a release later today, they said, and the city does not have further comment other than to praise the police department, the City of Martinsburg, for their work in discovering this and then acting on it swiftly. So I've been told that there are a lot of calls coming in right now to the City of Martinsburg regarding this. And this was a story that was sent to me by somebody in the City of Martinsburg earlier this morning, and over the last half hour I've been working with texts to confirm with Chief Gibbons and through the school system too, to try to get as much information on that as possible. But that is a story that obviously happened last night, and more information is coming out this morning. So moving along, we begin the Friday Five now and welcome in our Friday Five on World Radio Day, by the way, as we celebrate various things today, including the day before Valentine's Day. This is World Radio Day, and this broadcast, as it is being streamed, is indeed going out around the world. So let's welcome back our co-hosts from the first half hour, the Admiral Bill Stubblefield.
Good morning, Rob. World Radio Day makes me feel kind of like Edward R. Murrow in the Second World War. Very touching.
As long as you don't feel like Glenn Miller in the Second World War.
No, Glenn Miller went down. Never to be found.
That's what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. I think over the channel in London, was it not?
Yes, it was.
London,
yes,
right?
it was. I don't think the plane's ever been found, though, has it?
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't believe so.
New York Times best-selling author John Gilstrap.
Good morning.
Longest tenured member of our crew, Mr. Michael Carr. Welcome back.
Good to be back. Thank you.
Former tax commissioner of the state of West Virginia. And Norwood Bentley, who is back as well. He, after being exposed to us last week, he decided he would like more exposure. And here he is, Norwood Bentley. Good morning, sir.
Nothing like exposure.
Apparently.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Grab that microphone a little closer to you there, too, Norwood, so we can hear you. Yeah, just put that within a couple inches there. And on the telephone, Mr. Joe Ferretti. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Rob. Is there any truth to the rumor that Bill Stubblefield was seen shopping for his Valentine's Day gift at the retail store section of the Cracker Barrel restaurant?
Bill, is that true?
Not this year, but in years past, yes. They have wonderful card selection at Cracker Barrel. That used to be is my card of choice location.
Oh, okay.
I did remember, Joe. Have you gotten one for your bride?
Not at the Cracker Barrel, but I do have my sources in town, Bill. And
Yeah.
I thought somebody had reported that to me.
Yeah, that's dated by at least 1 year, but yeah, that's probably quite factual.
You know, I have been married for 41 years, and we've never done the Valentine's Day thing.
That's the kind of wife I like.
We just, we call it a greeting card holiday. It's just not, we've just never put that on the list of.
My wife told me many years ago, just stop getting me Valentine's stuff. It's just not worth the money.
But,
so I listened to her, which of course I always do, Mike. That's how I've been married 36 years.
Well, good for you.
But with the Valentine candy, which everyone should get for their spouse, you get at least half of it. So there is a reward.
It's an investment. It's not a gift. It's an investment.
It's an investment, John. Exactly right.
50% return. Who wouldn't take that? All right. Hey, with issue number one to start off our Friday, Mr. Joseph Joey Torts Ferretti. Joe?
Well, Rob, one of my topics was to discuss the Bad Bunny halftime show, but looking at our panel, our ages, our demographics, I thought we probably don't want to discuss Bad Bunny this morning. So I'm going to move on to another topic that I raised in our texting yesterday. And this concerns a current move by a senator regarding qualifications to run for governor in West Virginia and what that possibly says about us as a state and what it says about the legislatures. But let me take you back to the 1960s when the grandson of John D. Rockefeller, the oil magnate, J. Rockefeller, showed up in the hills of West Virginia to work for AmeriCorps. He was volunteering his time in Appalachia to help with poverty-stricken areas. He did very good work, and he's written about it and is well known about not only his work, but the work of that organization over the years. Well, he became enamored with West Virginia and decided to run for public office, became Secretary of State, and then ran for governor, first unsuccessfully in 1972. I know Norwood knows all of this history. But at the time that J. Rockefeller ran for office, he was accused of being a carpetbagger. He knew nothing about West Virginia values and our culture in West Virginia. He was not suited for the job because he was an outsider. Well, Jay eventually won the governorship in 1976 and served admirably while in office. Some folks didn't like his politics, but he was able to get things done, and I think it can be said that he was a successful governor. Now let me come forward here to the present day. The Right Honorable Senator from Logan County, Rupi Phillips, has just proposed a resolution in the legislature. Now, a resolution means it's not going to become a law. It's an attempt to amend the Constitution of West Virginia. And a resolution has to pass with a 2/3 vote in the House and Senate, and then it goes to the ballot for the voters of West Virginia to vote on. It does not require the governor's approval or signature. So this is pending now in the legislature, and what Senator Rupi Phillips has proposed as a resolution. He first said, in order to run for the governorship in West Virginia, you have to be born in West Virginia. Well, he talked to some folks, and he amended the resolution to now say that you have to reside in West Virginia for at least 30 years before you would be eligible to run for governor. The current constitutional provision states this: you have to be at least 30 years old. You have to be eligible to vote in West Virginia. You have to have been a resident in West Virginia for 5 years. And you must not have ever participated in a duel with a weapon.
Well, there goes Aaron Burr.
Yeah. So that's what the Constitution states. Rupi Phillips wants to amend that from 5 years to 30 years. And the reason behind his thinking here is that he believes it takes at least that much time to become assimilated into West Virginia's culture to understand West Virginia values, whatever those may be. So when I read this, I initially was offended because I don't know that it takes 30 years to have values that West Virginians would respect. And I think that is an inordinate amount of time to become acclimated and assimilated into West Virginia's culture. However, as I look at this, I say, well, 5 years is kind of short. So I'm not sure about the current qualifications we have on paper with the amendments and our Constitution. So the question I have this morning is, if this was to be passed out of the legislature as a resolution and it appears on a ballot that West Virginians are going to vote on in the future, how do you think West Virginians would respond? Would they favor Rupi Phillips' amendment or maybe some other amendment that has a specified number of years greater than 5 as a residency requirement? Or would West Virginians reject that outright? And secondarily, what are West Virginia values that Rupi Phillips might be alluding to that could only be born out of a lengthy residency in the state of West Virginia? Those are my questions.
And Joe, would this amendment by Rupi eliminate the not having been permitted to have been in a duel recently part of it, or would that still be allowed?
He has not addressed that, so that, as I understand, would probably remain.
See, I think that's an assault on my 2A gun rights. That that's a very un-2A amendment to not erase. I think erasing
that could be made.
It's your right to have been in a duel, I think. I mean, what's the sense of packing if you can't be in a duel? Mr. Gilstrap?
We'll call Tom right now.
Well,
You're new to the state?
as the carpetbagger in the room,
You are the most carpetiest, baggiest?
and as a Second Amendment purist, I have to say that
The duel, yes or no?
well, the duel, there have to be limits. Like single shot flintlock.
Teams?
So, well, you have to have a team. Somebody's got to pick up the body. So,
see,
one or the other.
one or the
You're
other.
going to have a problem. Yeah. I think proposals like this, the fact that it's getting any oxygen at all, I think is sort of silly. The 30 years, 5 years, 10 years, I think there needs to be some kind of demonstration of commitment to the state and a love for the state that you're trying to run. But the reality is, I think any effort toward inbreeding is inherently bad, whether it's at the genetic form or the political form. We need new blood. We need new ideas. We need people to show their intellectual wares, as it were, and let the electorate decide. I don't mind having the basic qualification of 5 years or 2 years or whatever. I mean, it's something that is reasonable. 30 years is absurd. As a nation, we need to start trusting the electorate more, not less. You throw it out there, and if people elect the wrong person, well, 4 years, you'll find out just how bad the damage is done. But to try to keep a thumb on the scale to make sure that only is qualified or certified West Virginian is in office, I think that's foolish.
Is this a sour grapes bill aimed at Morrissey and Mooney?
Exactly right. And in fact, I'm impressed with Joe for making an issue out of this. When I read it, I defaulted to the fact it was a sticking the thumb in the eye of the governor, and it's kind of a carryover from Vern Krisk introducing the governor as a gentleman from New Jersey. It's all kind of the same vein. I doubt if this gets any traction. It did get a reaction from the governor's office. The governor's wife took great exception to it and sent out responded with a shot across the bow of Phillips and the others. I think it's just what we've described right now, just a way to poke fun or to get under the skin of the governor. I doubt if it develops any legs at all.
Mr. Carl?
Well, I think the 30 years is way too long, but the short, the 5 years, I think is just about right. And part of the fact is that I mean, I was born in Virginia. A lot of people in the Eastern Panhandle are born outside of West Virginia, but live here now. So I think some aspect of it is avoids discrimination against the Eastern Panhandle if you say you have to be born in the state to be governor, and of course that's been now altered to the minimum number of years lived. But I think 30 is way too many, and 5 is enough.
The born part is interesting because you could be a resident of Martinsburg and be born in Hagerstown or Winchester's hospitals. Would that disqualify you as a born resident of West Virginia? Your parents lived here, but technically your birth took place in another state.
I mean, it where you were born should not be particularly because the Eastern Panhandle should not be a standard of be eligible to be governor.
Norwood.
Military on deployment, in a family.
Fair point, right?
assignment.
Yeah. Norwood.
I agree. I hate to say this. I agree with Mr. Gilstrap.
Thank you and good night. Have a
It's going to
great
be a congenial Friday.
Almost
That means you're
totally.
agreeing with me too.
I do. And with Mike Carl today. It's not going to get any legs, I think. We need a residency requirement, and I think the current law is sufficient. We don't need anything like 30 years. That's absurd. And I don't think this resolution is going to go anywhere. I think it's dead.
Mr. Ferretti?
Did anybody take offense to the notion expressed by this senator? And by the way, this resolution has co-sponsors, so don't think it's going to be easily dismissed down there. But did anybody take offense to him saying that you have to live here a certain amount of time to understand West Virginia values? What does that mean? And is that not, I mean, I took offense to that because, look, when I moved to the Eastern Panhandle in 1992 and I started practicing law, I can tell you in the first 5, 7, 8 years that I was in Martinsburg, living out on the West End and with an office downtown, I was told more than once that I don't understand West Virginia. I'm a newbie. I'm an outsider. How dare I take a stance on certain issues because I don't understand West Virginia or West Virginians. Now, after a while, I overcame that because of just the length of time I was there and my assimilation into the community. But I don't think my values changed. I don't think that I recognize that, boy, West Virginia has different values than me. I better adopt these. I took offense to that notion that that's what's undergirding this whole move over residency requirements. And I think it's not the message the legislature wants to send if they want to get people to move to West Virginia.
I didn't take it that way at all. I don't I don't think this is something you overthink. When we talk about West Virginia values, comes the carpetbagger. I think, first of all, it's a proposed amendment like this is rooted in fear. And the fear is that in West Virginia, we're going to have a slate of laws like you see in New Jersey or in Maryland or now in Virginia that become anti-gun, marginally anti-Christian, marginally anti-religion in general. This is a state that has a history of military enlistment, fighting in wars. It's a blue-collar state that is, I think, proudly blue-collar. It's also the home of Homer Hickam, who from back in the day.
Rocket Man.
And I think that this is not rooted in offense. It's rooted in fear that we need to have a governor, is what I'm projecting here. I have not spoken to Senator Phillips about this. But I think it's rooted in the fear that suddenly we are going to become New Jersey, or we're going to become these very liberal states, because as people are driven out of the liberal states, and this, I don't mean this as a shot, as people are driven out of liberal states by liberal politics and what I would call liberal morality, which is not the conservative roots of West Virginians, it's frightening to think that all of a sudden the standards of what I now call some of the crazy states like California would somehow become the standards here in West Virginia. I think that's the issue that's in play.
I disagree, John. You use the term overthink. I think it's pure and simple the fact taking a swipe at the governor.
Yeah, except, Bill, that the governor is not the embodiment of a New Jersey liberal.
Yeah.
If anything, he's to the right of, I think, a fair number of Republicans in West Virginia.
Well, so then the next question becomes, is this a shot at stemming the momentum of the growing members of the delegation from the Eastern Panhandle, right? So there's now 4 senators, there's 11 delegates, and Rupi is from Logan County. right?
There you
So
go, Rob.
who stands to lose the most if the Eastern Panhandle continues to grow and gain influence?
But he's not targeting delegates and senators. He's
But
targeting
this-
the governor.
This
but he's targeting residency a number
He's
of years.
anticipating what's coming, John.
Yes, and where if you're from Logan, is your neighbor moving out every couple years because they got a job somewhere else, or is that the same neighbor your parents had and the parents before them? Now in the Eastern Panhandle, look around your neighborhood and tell me how many people have moved in and out in the last 5 years.
But that's a stretch, I think, Rob. There's nothing in the Constitution about residency for the senators and delegates. If it is, it's only about a year and a half.
I think it's 5 years for Senate.
But it's
That's on the US,
where,
isn't it?
but where do those people come from, Bill?
Yeah.
Who runs for governor? People that have already been elected to something else. So when you have strength from the Eastern Panhandle and you have Eastern Panhandle representation in the governor's seat, and they've got a strong coalition of support, which doesn't always happen. I mean, we all know that the relationship between the governor and the Eastern Panhandle delegation has been rocky at times. But still, I think this is more of a shot at the growth of the Eastern Panhandle.
Maybe so. Let me do a shout out for Joe Ferretti.
You're not going to do another Peking restaurant
No,
thing,
no,
are you?
no. I'm convinced Joe could have an issue. The sun's rising in the east, and we'd have a good, healthy 25-minute discussion. Well done, Joe. So.
Well, thank you, Bill. I'll pick you up something at the Cracker Barrel.
Someone should. Yeah. But go ahead, Joe. Back on the point of the Eastern Panhandle.
Rob, I think you hit on it because look, Patrick Morrissey is reportedly from the Eastern Panhandle, and while I don't think he fits the mold of the type of governor that Rupi Phillips would be concerned about. I think the writing's on the wall in Charleston that the power is slowly but surely shifting to Morgantown and the Eastern Panhandle. And they realize that the type of person who's going to come from those areas to run for these high offices in West Virginia are likely to be transplants, number one. And number two, perhaps not politically aligned with what Rupi Phillips would consider to be the correct person for the job and sitting in the governor's seat. So I think he's casting an eye towards the future here and trying to rein that in. And I think you've hit exactly on the point that perhaps he's trying to make.
I'm going to call that our Paisan connection, Joe. Name ends in a vowel. We're speaking the same language, baby.
You got it, brother.
Very interesting.
Now, to your original point of Bad Bunny, okay, that you were going to go with, I'm gonna reference John Gilstrap on this. John, what's the best way to make people run to buy a book?
To have a
Thank you.
signing at Four Seasons Books on February 24th at 6 p.m. How would you do it?
What's the second best way to make people want to buy a book?
You advertise it.
Ban it.
Oh, yeah, I've
Yeah.
been banned.
Ban it. Right?
The most watched halftime show ever.
Bad Bunny. 128.7 million people watched the show. Why? Because Donald Trump came out against it and told everybody it was going to be the worst Super Bowl halftime show ever. So people who might not have wanted to watch that Super Bowl halftime show tuned in to find out what is this Bad Bunny thing that we're talking about. And despite the fact there was counter-programming by Kid Rock, despite the counter-programming, a record number of people watched the show.
True story, I'd never heard of Bad Bunny. I'm not that demographic, right?
You sure?
So when I finally saw what he
Why
looked
didn't go
like,
there?
when I finally saw what he looked like, I thought, that's Bad Bunny. You know, it's just, there's not at all, I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect this, kind of young, it just.
You thought he was going to be some horrible dog killer.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Bad Bunny sounds like a horror movie construct.
Yeah. Well, anyway, mission accomplished.
Did you watch the halftime show?
I did.
What did you think of it?
Did you actually watch it, or was it just
no,
on while you made a sandwich?
No, I watched it.
I watched it as well,
I watched
yeah.
it. I don't speak Spanish, but that didn't matter to me if the music is something that you can kind of get into. But I didn't find and I've heard his music before, I didn't find it particularly something that appealed to me.
But
From the baseline music
I enjoyed
end
it.
of
I enjoyed the halftime
It's
show.
top of the hour. Bill, you're on the clock. This is Talk Radio, WRNR Martinsburg. We are produced by thesportsdoc.com and McLaughlin. Catch the sports mix later today between noon and 1. And brought to you in part by Ameriprise Financial and the Mirius Group of Financial Advisors. Bill McCoy, John Everson, Tyler Butler, Winchester Avenue, Martinsburg. And by the law offices of Manchin Ferretti. Joe, unmute. Take it from here.
Rob, Manchin Ferretti is located in Kevin Knowles' Martinsburg,
Yes.
1 East John Street, where we have attorneys there daily answering questions regarding personal injury and insurance claims. If you have such questions, you can give us a call where we can discuss your case for free. The number is 304-264-8505, or you can visit us on the web at wvjusticelawyers.com.
Well done, Joe, on National Employee Legal Awareness Day. Did you know that, Joe?
I did not.
Yeah, National
Thank
Employee
you.
Legal Awareness Day.
That's a good reminder for me today.
That sounds like random words stitched together.
National Employee Legal Awareness Day. And we have 3 lawyers on the show. Mike Carl.
Well, you got to have business people that they work for need lawyers too. So
Sure.
So it's a good thing.
Everybody needs a lawyer, Norwood Bentley.
Absolutely. Everybody needs a lawyer.
And everything creates work for lawyers. That's what they say, right?
That's exactly right.
It's also Get a Different Name Day, which is why I called Joe Torts. And these two go hand in hand here. Galentine's Day, which is a day for gals to get together with their gals. And National Wingman Day. Most guys know what a wingman is. Your bro, when you're out socializing. National Wingman Day. And for those of you who have neither gals to hang out with nor wingmen to hang out with, it's National Self-Love Day. Good luck with that, too.
Every day when you're an adolescent.
I was leaving that one blank. You stepped up, John, because you're the creative writer. Good luck with that one. All right, let's welcome back our Friday Five. He is New York Times best-selling author with, you may have heard, a book signing coming up on June 24th, John Gilstrap.
Actually, that's February 24th.
Did I say
Show
June?
Up late. Yes.
Sorry. I said June, didn't I? And also, Michael Carr, longest-tenured member of our crew.
Great to be with you.
Norwood Bentley, good morning, sir.
Good to be back.
You heard Joe Ferretti's voice via telephone.
Who hasn't heard of this book signing? I want to know that.
Do you know when it is, Joe? It's on February 24th.
Hey, where is it, John?
It's at Four Seasons Books in Shepherdstown.
Every day is National Plug Your Own Book Day. And with issue number 2, the Admiral Bill Stubblefield.
Rob, we've been hearing a lot recently about ICE, and I started looking at some numbers, and the numbers kind of surprised me. The president and his millions, including the Attorney General, Homeland Security, Vice President, all of, have been making the claim that they've got to get these illegal immigrants off the streets because they're categorized as hardened criminals, rapists, murderers, and the whole bit. There's question is, how much truth is there in there? Recently, Internal Department of Homeland Security released some data that showed 86% of immigrant folks that ICE have arrested over the past year have no criminal record at all. 86% with no criminal record. There's a Texas study that's probably the best in the country because Texas looks in more depth at everybody they arrest. For violent crimes per 100,000 people in Texas, 225 were U.S.-born citizens, as opposed to 100 undocumented migrants. 225 for U.S.-born citizens, 100 for undocumented immigrants. Also with drug arrests, over the same study with Texas, of the native-born, 30% of the native-born with drug arrests increased by 30%. Whereas with undocumented immigrants, the numbers actually went down. Looking at this from another aspect, from the economic impact, the undocumented immigrants contributed an estimated $300 billion in federal, state, and local taxes in 2022, including $26 billion in Social Security, $6 billion in Medicare costs. They contributed heavily in sales and excise, but They do not get anything from the federal government. Undocumented immigrants are ineligible for any federal public benefits. They do get some on the state and local level in terms of education and emergency health care, but nothing from the federal government, and yet they contribute nearly $300 billion. As far as the detention, ICE has a budget of around $30 billion per year for detention. That is nearly as much as the U.S. Marine Corps has. One of the numbers says for in detention cost $150 a day. If they were out of detention, home arrest, $400 a day. Detention costs were 400% greater in 2025 than in 2024. My question to my distinguished colleagues is ICE being driven to rid hardened criminals from the streets? Is it being driven to, or is it from economic purposes? They're taking our jobs? Because ICE, the immigrants, undocumented immigrants, constitute about 20% of our construction industry and about 15% of our food services, or is it being driven by political reasons? That's my question.
All right, Mike Carl, you can go first on this one.
Well, you can call this a political reason, but I believe in the citizenship rules of the United States of America, and Bill just made a case to undermine those rules, and that comparison in Texas is really illustrates how wrong he is, because the people who he took the percentages and the numbers, fortunately the number of U.S. citizens, legal U.S. citizens in Texas is far higher than the number of illegal invaders in Texas. But Bill's just making trying to make a case for the Democrats' total violation of the United States citizenship law.
Did you want to respond to that, Bill?
It was per capita, so it was an even playing field, Mike. The various demographics is per capita, and it was not percentage. Okay.
Mr. Bentley.
Well, in my view, the great majority of ICE arrests of immigrants is driven clearly by politics. Has nothing to do with economics, has nothing to do with crime. These arrests are executed with brutality and force, behind masks, without warrants, in order to cow the populace in general, because they're broadcast across the nation. Crime has little to do with it, as the data indicates. These arrests are aimed at folks who are not affluent. They're aimed at cowing the American public, and they have nothing to do with as Mr. Carl likes to call it, taking care of the law in America. I
see the two of you have done this before.
It has to do with the rule of law. The Democrats, and it's not just Democrats, it is Democrats and right-minded Republicans and independents who stand for the rule of law. And
wrap it up, Norwood. Got to get to John.
It is done just for politics.
Mr. Gilstrap.
Oh, the hypocrisy. From 20 and from 2005 to 2006, when Barack Obama was senator, he spoke out repeatedly for the need for border security and addressing the status of undocumented individuals. 2010 and 2011, the administration, specifically via ICE, created memoranda prioritizing deportation of undocumented immigrants. June 2014, in a Rose Garden speech, Obama stated the U.S. needed to fix its, quote, broken immigration system, blaming the House for stalling legislation that would strengthen the borders. On November 20th, 2014, in an address to the nation, Obama announced the Immigration Accountability Executive Actions, focusing on the security of the border, deporting criminals, and implementing background checks, stating that those who come into our country illegally should face consequences such as being sent back home. I don't remember the riots. I don't remember the great speeches about how Barack Obama was trying to ruin the nation. I think he was pretty popular with these. If you don't have a border, you don't have a nation. Bill, your status. 86% of people that have been arrested by ICE have not committed violent crime or whatever the status is.
That's DHS status.
DHS, that
Yeah.
means 14% did. That means that however many crimes were committed needn't have been committed. You talk about how many Americans commit crimes. Well, that's fine. They're Americans. They get punished for the crime. It does not count as a statistic. You cannot say, there's no rational way to say that Americans are somehow, what are we going to do, deport them? What happens is illegal aliens come in. When they come in, they have committed a crime. Right? So that's the first crime. And then I'll stipulate to the number that it's only 14% of them are rapists and murderers and arsonists and robbers and burglars and assaulters. Only 14%. Oh, what the hell? Let's forget about the 14%. That's thousands of people, Bill. If we don't have a border, we don't have a nation.
But I preface this, John, by saying that the president labeled all of the illegal immigrants as hardened criminals.
No, well, they are all criminals. By definition,
They said
illegal means criminal.
Hardened was the operative word there. Hardened.
Here again, he's a bloviator that speaks in hyperbole. I mean, if you really think, if I would guess that if the numbers were switched, you would be saying, he said all of them when it's only 80%, 86% of them are violent. You know, you cannot hold this guy to his literal words.
We need to start holding people to the literal words. He and his staff and anybody
Trump's
that's
going
an
to be
elected
Trump.
official.
Trump's going to be Trump.
Joe
Yeah,
Ferretti,
Trump.
Bill, we'll come back to you to wrap it up. But Joe, go right ahead, sir. There's a lot to work with there.
Yeah, well, John, I can't disagree with you. The history going back through other presidents has been that they have removed and deported people in the millions. So, yes, that's always been the policy of this country. And the problem here is in the execution. It's not in the policy itself, which people voted for and put Trump in office for. I understand that and accept that. The execution has been faulty. First, it was oversold politically that we were going to go after the worst of the worst. And when people start seeing that we're going after fruit pickers and people working in school cafeterias serving food, that's a different matter. Okay, it was oversold. And then secondly, incentivizing the people in the streets who are detaining, arresting, and deporting people, the ICE and the Border Patrol people, incentivizing them, demanding that they produce 1,000 a day and that we get 1 million in a year, has created chaos. The execution has been poorly done. You can't incentivize these people financially by the number of arrests or detentions they get and think there's not going to be problems here. That's the problem. The policy is fine. If you don't belong here, go home. The problem here, though, is the execution of it and what it has wrought. People getting killed, people getting shot, residents, citizens being detained unlawfully. That is what people have been really upset about. And I don't think that's going to change as long as the execution doesn't change.
Mr. Stubblefield, to wrap it up.
I thought it was a good discussion. Thanks, folks.
All right, on to Mr. Gilstrap with issue number 3.
I want to take us back to about April 2nd of 2025, which is called, I think it's called Liberation Day. That was when the economy was declared by liberal pundits to be ending in the United States. We're going to see rampant unemployment. We're going to see runaway inflation. We're going to see a collapse of industries around the world because Donald Trump decided that he was going to impose tariffs across the board, and as we know that he deployed them. Now, come January 2026, we have 103,000 new jobs. I kind
of like that first one better.
Added to the economy. We have wage growth that is outpacing inflation. We have job creation that's going very. Markets are setting new records if you don't count yesterday. We've got the economy is chugging along very well. The tariffs, which were predicted to be the ruiner of everything, yes, tariffs are in fact being paid. It is a tax. It is being paid by the American consumer. But what the American consumer is doing, according to the Wall Street Journal, is shifting their spending patterns. So rather than buying the thing that is tariffed, they're buying the alternative that is cheaper and not tariffed. And what's happening to those products and services that are tariffed? Their prices are going down because demand is going down. So therefore, their prices have to go down with it. Is it time to declare the Chicken Littles, and say, hey, that whole thing back in April was not all that bad a thing?
Mr. Stubblefield, you've got the biggest smile on your face of anybody without a room full of sweets that I've seen.
Chicken Little it is. You referenced yesterday's job or last week's job gain. What is forgotten that in 2025 they revised downward the job growth by 400,000, 403 downward over what had been predicted. Yesterday or last week's job increase, which is to be commended, that is good news, but it's highly selective. Health care was a reason for 60% of these new positions. Health care. Social assistance added another 42,000. Construction, which I think is a better parameter, 33%. So you have to look at this with I think, in balance. What we saw last week will sound great, but if you have to look at what we did last year, it is moderated quite a bit. Certain sectors of workers in technology and finance, they continue to face a tough hiring environment. But what it's going to do, I think, is the Fed will have justification not to lower the rates in April. So it'll probably be in June before we have the next rate reduction, and that's when we have a new Fed chair.
Mr. Bentley.
Well, I think what this reflects is a 1 month look at the economy, which is good. January looked great in many ways, but as Bill pointed out, it was reflective of numbers that are not quite as good as it sounded yesterday. I think what you're going to have to look at is what happens over the course of the next several months, and if the economy continues to do well, if construction goes up, if manufacturing goes up, if those numbers continue to improve, I will applaud the president. But I don't think you can blame these improvements on tariffs. Tariffs are a bad thing for the economy. They were bad in 25, and they're going to be bad in 26. And I don't think you're going to see the January numbers repeat in February, March, and April.
Mr. Carl.
Well, I think the tariffs have had a very significant positive impact on our economy, and I agree with everything Mr. Gilstrap said. And one thing that we'll find out, there's a case in front of the U.S. Supreme Court now that challenges the extent and breadth of the president's tariff policy, ability, and that'll be fascinating. How that
is that a summer decision, Mike? Is that a decision that's going to be made this summer?
Oh, summer. I thought you said summary.
No.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll come out before Labor Day, and it'll be very telling about how it relates to the facts, that we've just learned about how helpful tariffs are, and whether a majority of the Supreme Court thinks the president can do what he's done.
Mr. Ferretti.
Well, John, I think the recent statistics, again, hard to argue with you on that. In fact, the inflation report came out this morning. Annualized, we're still running higher than the Fed goal of 2%. So we're not making progress there, but the numbers reported this morning was not as high as feared in terms of inflation. And there was a favorable jobs report, at least this last month, after a year of no job growth. But I think, again, the mistake is being made that was made in the Biden administration. Everybody wants to run to the stock market and some of these monthly reports and say, look how well we're doing, and the people aren't feeling it. Consumer sentiment from the University of Michigan, which is the bellwether report, we're running 20% lower than a year ago on consumer sentiment. And in terms of polling on the economy, 59%, according to Pew, 59% of Americans feel that Trump is failing on the economy. So statistics be damned on this. People are not feeling it, and Trump's going to run into the same problem that Biden had, where things look rosy if you look at facts and figures, but what's the public is feeling at home does not equate.
I want to read a couple of comments before John closes this up. One from Ken Matson. Am I to trust the information from this administration? Look at Noam, Bondi, Patel's statements. Trump firing one job numbers person, then fired the replacement, and now a dribble of numbers. Wonder why? From Jeff Haddix. If you don't give Trump the right numbers, he will sue you. Probably the reason why Gallup announced it will no longer track presidential approval ratings. Now, this next one is for you guys in the room, from Doreen, Mike Height's mom. Sadly, the Friday Five is starting to feel like the weekend wake. Somehow the pace needs to pick up. So let's go, you guys. Get your energy up here.
I'm working on it. Okay. A little bit to unpack here. First of all, the 2% Fed number for inflation we've discussed on this show 1,000 times. I think it's a ridiculous number. It's sort of arbitrary. The fact is that inflation is lower, much lower, an order of magnitude lower than what was being predicted back in April. The unemployment rate sits at 4 and change, 4 point something percent. It's unreasonable to cherry pick and say, well, yeah, but that's healthcare, that's this, that's that. No, the unemployment rate is sort of the universal rate. I don't know how it breaks down, but that number remains strong. We can always see it go down. Norwood, I think what we're seeing at this point is it takes a long time to clear the system of Bidenomics. This is none of Trump's policies have had a chance to take effect yet. That whole first year was still the Biden the Biden economy. So now, and I've said in this show 1,000 times, it's all about the big beautiful bill. And now, if it works, it works. And I think what we're seeing is that yes, it is. We're going to see hope return. People are getting more money in their pockets. People are getting tax breaks that they didn't used to have. We're not taxing tips and such. There's a lot of stimulus that's coming into the economy that in what happens to be the election year. We'll see what happens in the big poll.
If you mentioned the Biden economics, people refer, at least the Republicans refer to the Biden economics as being 2020, 21, 22. If you look at the trend of what was happening toward the last couple so years of Biden, it was much more favorable. The consumer confidence was fairly high. Inflation trend was going down. So it's not as simple as to say it's all due to Biden economics.
I think the more reasonable argument's going to be in the next year or two is that you're going to need a third Trump term to recover from these Biden economics. And we can't cut this short. For just 8 years for Donald Trump, we need 12 for him to get through the Bidenomics. I think that's the next argument that's going to be made on this show.
Way to trigger people.
This is interesting here. We've got the Republicans now as the pro-tax tariff people and the Democrats as the anti-tax tariff people. This is fascinating how this is all turned around. All right, on the clock, Norwood Bentley next. Waylon Jennings passed away this date, 2002. I grew up watching Dukes of Hazzard. I think it was on every Friday night, I think, when I was a pup. This segment of our show today brought to you by Larry DeMarco and Company at Century 21, Modern Realty Results, also by WVU Medicine, Berkeley Medical Center, Jefferson Medical Center. This is also National Tortellini Day, which reminds me that Joey Torts Ferretti is with us via telephone. Joe, good to have you back.
Great to be back here on Tortellini Day.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to be on Tortellini Day? Also, Mr. John Gilstrap.
Good morning.
Mr. Mike Carl.
Good morning.
The Admiral Bill Stubblefield.
Good morning, all.
And with issue number 4, Mr. Norwood Bentley, sir.
Thank you. Good to be back. Last Thursday night, a week ago, or early Friday morning, either Donald John Trump or one of 2 other people in his office posted on his Truth Social account a blatantly racist look at former President Barack Obama and his First Lady Michelle Obama, depicting them as apes. The post was up for 12 hours. The White House initially defended the post, and it was finally taken down, as I indicated, after about 12 hours. My initial reaction was not surprisingly anger, but sadness. Profound sadness, which has not left me. I have been unable to shake it. I think how far we have fallen, how low we have fallen. Throughout our most recent history, at least, our presidents have tried to find and express the best of America. This incident, where Trump or one of his subordinates have posted something unspeakable. It's widely known that there are only 3 people in the White House with access to that account. It's Trump and 2 others. He has not apologized. He has refused to do so, but he did take it down. I think we need to talk about this issue. I think we need to talk about our country's morality, its integrity, its direction, its leadership or lack thereof. Around our kitchen tables, around this table today, over our backyard fences. Am I wrong? Is this just something we should ignore? Is this just another Trumpism that is becoming something that is a second nature that we just have to accept? What does it mean for our country to sweep these kinds of things under the rug? Should we be talking about it at all? That's my issue.
Via telephone, Joseph Ferretti. Joe?
Well, I'll make you even more sad, Norwood. Within hours of that post appearing on the president's Truth Social account, and by the way, it was shared twice on the account, not just once, but twice. Thousands of people responded favorably online, and a meme coin called Ape Obama began trading. And in the first day of trading, it generated $4 million. So, yeah, there's a problem here. And, yes, it deserves to be discussed. And, no, I'm not going to accept that some aide at midnight got a hold of the president's Truth Social account and mistakenly posted this. Nobody's been fired. Nobody's been singled out. And on we go. And it's a shame that we have reached this place in society where this kind of behavior can't be called out. I'll remind folks that not only did the president's Truth Social account question whether or not President Obama and his wife were human, it wasn't long ago that that same individual questioned whether or not he was an American citizen, an effort that he had to abandon embarrassingly. So this is where we are, and I agree with you, Norwood. It's a reason to be sad.
Mr. Gilstrap.
Well, I'm not going to even attempt to defend the indefensible. I think it's to call something racist, and that's just not the way I'm built. That implies intent. I will give you wildly insensitive and wildly unpresidential. Like I said, there's no defending that. As for the apology, why? What does it do? It doesn't take anything down. It doesn't unsee anything. All it does at the political level, an apology is another day in the news for this. As far as firings are concerned, I don't know what's happening in the White House. And if somebody gets fired, they get fired. If they don't, they don't. I think they should. I mean, this is not. I personally don't think. In fact, I've seen in a documentary where Trump doesn't actually do a lot of thumb typing himself. He's got people to do that for him. This doesn't mean it's not his sentiment and it's not his words, but in terms of him actually hitting the keyboard, that's from what I've seen. That's not how it works. He's got a body gal actually to take care of that. So I'm not going to try to defend the indefensible. I think it was a horrible thing to do. Does it make me sad? I don't wake up every day hating Donald Trump, and I don't wake up every day wishing that he wasn't there. So no, it does not make me sad. It doesn't make me proud. But I think apologies are wildly overrated. Apology is something you do individual. I step on your foot, or I spill coffee on you, whatever the case, or I call a direct insult to you that I want to take back. That's what an apology is for. An apology at this level just keeps the news cycle alive.
Bill.
Yeah, to me, the frightening part is we as a nation are no longer shocked by what he says or what he does. It is such a variance from what we have seen with our previous presidents, our previous leaders, and something that we would view as unthinkable a few years or so ago now is part of everyday business. To me, that is a frightening part.
That's just not true. We've portrayed Trump as a Nazi. We have portrayed ICE as Gestapo. We have, there's all kinds of unspeakable imagery that's going out there that's entirely wrong. The fact that this resonates against...
The difference here, John, though, is this is the president's Truth Social account doing this. This isn't some unnamed person on social media doing it.
And I understand. I'm not trying to defend that. But to say
But you're equating it.
I am... Bill was talking about we're not shocked anymore.
I'm not shocked about what he says or what he does. That's my point, John.
Okay.
Mr. Carl.
Well, we need to deal with this in the context of American history. And American history says that the Republicans freed the black people who were slaves after a war with the Democrats who wanted to keep them as slaves. So let's don't ever forget the fundamental shift of America to avoid discrimination led by the Republicans and Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, but you have to go back 160 years on the resume for that.
No, you don't,
Mike.
No, you don't. You have to go back to 1964.
Well, LBJ was a Democrat.
Yeah, but it was the Democrats who were fighting against.
And it was Kennedy's bill. But those were Southern Democrats, and guess what party they are now?
Yes.
They're Democrats or Democrats, Republicans?
No, they were
they're not,
Southern
John.
Democrats,
They're
John.
not. Democrat today is not the same Democrat we had.
The Republicans today
ago.
are not the same.
Exactly right. Exactly right. I agree with that.
Things morph, but the label is the label.
But that runs counter to Mike's point. Mike's saying it's the Republican has remained a staunch Republican. That's not the case. The views of the Republican and Democrats have changed over the last 50, 80, 90, 100 years.
Not true.
You think
the Democrats, I think, have become less racially discriminatory. I agree with that after the Civil War, but it took the great Republican president
that's a fact.
Well, I hope we're not trying
to lead the America
He was
away from
and
racism.
would Abraham Lincoln win a primary today?
I would hope so.
I hope we're not trying to equate.
I hope we don't need what he had to do again, but I don't think we do. But we're coming up on the 250th anniversary.
If we're going to play the card that the party is the party, then the question is: would Abraham Lincoln, with his politics of 1865, win a primary in 2026?
If our society was as bad as it was in those days, yes.
Back to you, Norwood, to wrap it up.
We're not trying to equate Lincoln and Trump.
I know you wouldn't want to because it's not good.
Norwood, go ahead, finish up.
Well, I think this is an issue that we need to talk about, and we need to talk about around our own kitchen tables. Did you want me to finish with this issue, or
Yeah, finish with this issue, then we'll move to Mike Carl. Whatever your final thoughts are on this issue.
I think this issue is one that still troubles me. We haven't resolved it for me satisfactorily here today, but it is one that I find to be a profound problem for America that emanates from the White House today.
Mike Carl, issue number 5.
Let's go. I want to raise this question, and it's not unrelated to what we've been talking about, but it's slightly different. And that is, what do we make of the Democrats' opposition, leading Democrats' opposition to voter ID proof?
Democratic opposition to voter ID laws.
Now, you said leading Democrats. That's important. Leading Democrats, there is opposition. But Democrats as a whole...
Go ahead and run with the bill. You're on already.
Democrats as a whole is supportive of a tighter voter ID. Polls.
Based on what information that you have.
And they're the ones that made the other guys leading Democrats.
Based on what information do you say that Democrats in general support?
Some recent polls, and I've forgotten exactly which poll it came from, but the polls clearly say about 85% of the general populace, with around 70% of Democrats, are in favor of tightening voter IDs.
Why don't their leaders support it then?
I don't know. That's the question. I think that's why I wanted to pull out the fact leaders, and I don't know the answer to that. I do know that the vast number of the Democrats do support a tighter.
Well, what is your
ID.
speculation as to why the leaders might not support that?
I don't know. Politics. Everything's being driven by politics. I don't know, Rob.
All right, Norwood, you look like you had some type of answer.
Well, I think the answer is that the bills that are being offered by the Republican Party in Congress for tightening this are rush bills that want to make it happen right now.
Like healthcare.
And I think that in order to tighten the ID laws up, we need to take our time and do it correctly. We need to make sure that the implementation is done properly, and that it takes time to bring people in and get them the ID they need, and implement it in a way that is inclusive of as many people as possible, so that it doesn't do what the Republican bills look like they would do, and that is to suppress the vote rather than include as many people as possible.
Mr. Ferretti.
Well, I've read up on this, and there's an interesting stat which supports voter ID, I think it's up to 27 states now that have passed a stricter voter ID law. The number of people voting has gone up. So the concerns about disenfranchisement are not borne by the statistics in terms of voting. But what you're going to hear from the Democrats, and I think they're absolutely correct on this point, this SAVE Act, which is now just past the House, going to the Senate, where it's likely to die because it's not going to get 60 votes. It requires, in addition to a photo ID, it requires proof of citizenship. And you can only do that through a birth certificate or a passport. And the number one state with the least amount of people holding a passport is West Virginia. 79% of West Virginians do not have a passport. So if this law would pass, they would have to scurry around to find a birth certificate to show in order to prove citizenship in this country. That is disenfranchisement, and I think that's why that bill will ultimately fail.
John Gilstrap, you're shaking your head no.
Well, take a look at the back of your driver's license on your real ID driver's license. It's all there. You don't need a passport.
A lot of people don't have a driver's license.
Then get an ID. Everybody can get an ID. This voting is not.
You think?
Well, absolutely. Every state offers the driver's license
alternative. I had a 94-year-old
alternative.
grandmother who would disagree with you on that.
Well, it's a matter of going to whatever is the agency. Here it's the DMV, I believe, and you get an ID card. It's not a driver's license; it's an ID card. It's a step, and why not? You know, I am first
of all.
A lot
of states don't provide that.
Okay.
A lot of states don't provide that.
I need proof on that. It's because it's here's where I'm coming from on this. I am delighted that this is the hill that the Democrats want to die on. They died on it in 2024, and they'll die on the same hill again. This is an 80-20 issue. Nobody is against having making sure that only Americans can vote in American elections. You know, here we can only, you have to be a Republican to vote in a Republican primary. It's to know who your voters are is critical to a fair election. This goes back.
It's a solution in search of a problem, John.
No, it's not. Well, I don't know.
Illegal immigrants, John, find me the stats. Illegal immigrants are not voting.
I'm not suggesting they are. I'm not.
Well, then we don't have a problem, do we?
Well, if
those are lawyers, John, be careful.
It's a specious argument, Joe. I mean, if you don't have to have.
We don't have a problem.
All right, here's the deal. I was a safety engineer for 35 years. We actually didn't wait for somebody to die before we put the guard on the machine. You put the guard on the machine to keep people from dying. I mean, it's a ridiculous argument to say that we have to wait till we have a national problem before we have a national policy. It's like open borders, right? We need to have the closed borders to have a country. We need to have Americans voting in American elections.
Do we have a national problem?
I don't know.
I don't think so, John. I think Joe's right.
Then why is it
we're looking for a solution?
Then why is it such a wildly popular law? I mean, it really is 80-20. You're right.
Yeah.
Proof of citizenship, John. John, proof of citizenship is something new. I agree. 80-20 on photo ID. I think proof of citizenship is something completely new.
Regarding a recent Google search I just did, based on the Ferretti-Gilstrap disagreement, state-issued identification cards, non-driver IDs, are available in all 50 U.S. states.
Neener.
The District of Columbia and territories, with all jurisdictions now complying with real ID standards. That's the kicker at the end of that sentence. They are typically obtained through the local Department of Motor Vehicles or equivalent agency, requiring proof of legal name, date of birth, social security number, and residency. Any resident can apply, but you can only hold a driver's license or an ID card, not both. And you cannot have ID cards from multiple states. That's the deal behind it.
Hey, I know people here on work visas that have driver's license, and they're not residents of this country.
But they don't have the real ID. It's not going to show them to be a U.S. citizen.
When you register to vote, the folks who vet you prove and have to establish your citizenship in order to get registered to vote. We're already doing this. We don't need further proof of citizenship.
And Joe, that takes us to Mike Carl for the final thought.
Well, I'll mostly say amen to Mr. Gilstrap's statement, but the fact is that just because one time you may have had it, that you need every time you vote, you need to prove that you're a voting citizen of America.
So if you voted once and were vetted, you think you should have to be vetted again?
For every time you vote, yes.
Why? If you've already been
Be-
vetted once,
because
shouldn't that be
they're
good for
they're-
life?
They are independent actions and that need, each one of them, every time you vote, you need to prove that you're entitled to vote. That's just that's obvious.
But I think we're arguing about two different things here. My question is: once I've already gotten my ID that shows I voted and I am a citizen of the country, are you saying the next time I vote I have to go back all over again and get new approval, a new card that says I'm still a citizen?
No. The same card that you
That's
used
what
the
I'm
first
talking-
time.
yeah,
I'm sorry,
okay.
I misunderstood the
All right,
question.
now we're on the same page.
Yes.
And the margin is 80-20 or in favor of some type of voter identification in the country when you vote, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
And the 20 are all Democrats.
The question is citizenship, Joe. Is that it?
Why do we introduce partisan politics in everything we talk about?
Because
why do we not,
this is a partisan issue. Go ahead, Joe. I got 30 seconds.
Yeah, I got to. The long game here is to invalidate mail-in voting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be real.
That's right.
That's what's going on here. The president wants to invalidate mail-in voting, which has proven to be a very secure method of voting that's taken advantage of by a lot of folks who can't take off work to go vote on election day. That's what the goal is here.
10 seconds, Bill.
David Valenti just made a very good comment. If real ID is proof of citizenship, why isn't ICE accepting it?
How do we know they're not?
Southern Democrats. Final thoughts, 8 seconds apiece next. Final thoughts, 8 seconds apiece. Joe, go.
Tip of the hat to Larry Schultz. Why do we park on a driveway and drive on a parkway?
Memories of Larry. He posted it on Facebook today during the show. Norwood Bentley.
Have a happy day.
Don't forget to go to Cracker Barrel to get your Valentine gift.
Mike Carl.
Thank you for being here, everybody, especially Norwood.
Mr. Gilstrap.
I just found out the flight I thought was going to leave on Monday is leaving on Sunday. So I'll be in Orlando next week.
And don't forget about that Four Seasons bookstore appearance on
On February 24th.
Not June.
No way,
6 p.m.
No way we can forget about that.